So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome to the Build to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more all of it away to help MVPs. My name is Brett Swarts, and I'll be your host today. By the way, we're also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and on YouTube channels. When you have a large exit coming up, make sure to go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's Bitcoin, that's real estate, that's business. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. I'm excited about our next guest. He's outside of Philadelphia, and he builds real companies. He shares what he's learning. He is a multi-faceted entrepreneur in self-storage, financial securities, development, and AI. And we're going to be talking about kind of how all those three are intersecting in today's world. And I think it's an important conversation to have, given where the world is changing. I feel like we all need to become experts in AI as we're in our product or our specialty. And this gentleman has run multiple companies across real estate development and media, and he hosts a podcast called Successful Idiots, where they learn a lot about what not to do and teach us some other ways to do it better. And he also runs Storage Moguls, hard to pronounce, but you can learn more about that by going to storagemoguls.ai. Please welcome to the show with me, Mr. Joe Downs. Joe, how are we doing?
Great, Brett. How are you? It's Storage Moguls, like a ski mogul.
Moguls, yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking like, those history channels, right? Where it's like I get that word mixed up. Or, anyways, okay. But be that as it may, share us a little more about your story and your focus now, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, and thanks for putting on shows like this for up and coming entrepreneurs who didn't have this. I didn't have a podcast to listen to when I was driving around looking for real estate deals 25 years ago. So kudos to you for putting this information out there. A little bit about me is, that was probably maybe the history there is, I've learned in the last couple of years that I was a serial entrepreneur, not necessarily by design, but by survival. I've been involved in various asset classes, all tangentially or directly related to real estate, commercial real estate. And they've all gone through, ebbs and flows and cycles. And I've gotten knocked down. And, I told you I'm from outside of Philly, so I'll steal one of Rocky's lines. It's not about how hard you get knocked down. It's about how you get back up. So unfortunately for me, although fortunately, because I think that's what molds you as you grow, I've been knocked down a few times and had to learn to get back up and fight for another day. And, I think I tell my kids I wouldn't, there's mistakes I've made in the past, and knowing what I know now, would I do them differently or make different decisions differently? And the answer is no, because I ended up here where I am, and what I went through, which you can look back and easily call a mistake or boneheaded or this or that, has helped what forge and mold me as to who I am today. So it's weird. It's funny when you look back and like, oh, that was a mistake, but I wouldn't change it.
Excellent. No, I love it. No, that's part of why the thesis of your podcast probably has done very well, and you're going to learn, and you're going to be appreciative for what the lessons taught you and how they helped to forge who you are today. So let's talk about storage practitioners, not professors, and storage moguls and AI and just this world that's changing rapidly. How are you, best helping others to embrace it and to succeed in today's world?
Yeah, great question. So For a while, I've been in self-storage for 7+ years now. We've acquired ourselves 20 facilities. In fact, this is a kind of a busy couple weeks for us because we're closing on, I think, 3 in the next 10 days. So we'll be up to 23 facilities where we've got 2 in development that are pro storage facilities. And then all along, I went through a mentorship training program myself years ago. And then because we were so successful, the gentleman who used to run that invited me back. So I went from speaking on stage, it was kind of the social proof of, hey, you can do this too, to next thing you know, my company was doing all the education fulfillment. And we were doing that for over a year plus. And he retired and started, just decided he didn't want to do the education business anymore. And kind of halfway through it, I fell in love with AI. I joined an AI mastermind. I started to really lean into it and learn about the power of AI. And, everyone is at a different stage of comprehension is what I would say. We're all capable of understanding AI and how to use it. It's just, it's so new. It's like giving an iPhone 17 or whatever number they're up to an 85-year-old who's never held a smart device before, right? It's just, they're not incapable of using it. It's just brand new to them. So that's how I look at AI for everybody. And I've been on my journey, and in my mastermind, I proposed to the gentleman, Peter Swain, who is running the mastermind. He's an AI guru, marketing tech, guru guy. And I said, why don't we launch a podcast together? Basically, my pitch was, I have no experience, never launched a podcast. You don't have a podcast, but let me represent Joe Blow. Joe, I'm learning AI. I've got the mental blocks. I don't understand it. And you be the expert, right? I'll be the man on the street speaking for the people. And, we're 28 episodes in. People are loving it. It's growing. In that process, Brett, it's forced me to even become more of a, I'm never going to use the word expert, but more knowledgeable, more experienced with AI than most people that I know. And in that evolution of that, while I'm educating people and I'm standing on stage, at these storage events, going, really, the best way to learn storage is immersiveness. You really have. There's nothing difficult about what we do. I'm not dumb, but I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not launching rockets. So if I can do it, you can do it. Is kind of my message. And
yeah. By the way, I love that. By the way, we learn 95% of what we teach, right? So it's one thing to watch a YouTube channel or to read a book, to have a general discussion. And then you move to, listening, and then you move to active listening with writing it down. You move to, reviewing it again, reviewing your notes. But where it really takes off is when you teach it, right? So if you have the ability to discuss the ideas and then start to teach the ideas, I think it's brilliant, having that approach for the podcast. And then seeing how do you best implement, because this is like the train or the automobile or the airplane or the internet. This is arguably more of a change moment that we're in right now with this AI industry. So yeah, and then be able to apply that to something that you've already mastered in self-storage. I think it's great. So keep going. I didn't want to cut you up, but I just wanted to kudos to you on that. Yeah. You know what the worst thing to do is when you're selling a business? Paying huge capital gains taxes. In fact, they're about 20 to 50% of the sale. And if your client is selling, whether you're a business broker, M&A advisor, financial advisor, they have a large capital gains tax problem. And guess what? We have a solution. We build capital gains tax solutions for sellers of highly appreciated assets, including real estate, including businesses and other assets. And we want to encourage you to take action today to learn about what solutions are available. So think about a business, think about real estate, think about other assets that have at least $1 million net proceeds and $1 million gain, and the sale is going to result in 20 to 50% in tax. So what can you do? Well, you can build a capital gains tax solution with our team. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com or click on the link below to get started. Yeah.
You're so on point, and that's a perfect segue, because in learning about AI and teaching and learning about AI and how it can be applied and applicable, I'm looking at schools, not that I'm doing anything with them, and saying there's no way kids 10 years from now will learn the way we learned, because AI can create personalized education programs for them. It can be the same content, Brett, but it can be consumed in ways that were not available to us. And that's what they call adult learning theory. And so I looked at all the uses of AI, in particular, for instance, Google Notebook LM, and said you could take any source content of information, put it in Google Notebook LM, and it'll create for you a video, a podcast, flashcards, quiz, mind map, slide deck, any report, right? So I'm teaching people storage, and the ones who are having success are the ones that are immersive in it, right? They're showing up. They never miss a class we have. They're out doing the work. They're really applying themselves. And the ones who aren't getting anywhere. And I'm looking at this going, wait a second, why don't we've got all these videos where we teach people about self-storage. Why don't we record everything? Why don't we create new and other ways, multimodal media for people to consume, because we all learn differently. So that was the genesis of, hey, if we're going to take over a teaching platform for self-storage, let's use AI. It's not replacing us, it's supporting us. And really it's supporting the student in their journey of learning AI. And then don't get me wrong, we're now using it in how we source deals. We're using GPTs, mostly Claude actually. We started with GPTs, but we're building most things in Claude at this point. But we're using AI to make what we do better, not replace, again, just enhance. And it's that 10-80-10 rule. I think it was Steve Jobs' old rule, actually. And it's so applicable to AI. It's 10%. What is the idea? Give it to AI 80%, and then come back and refine it, right? And so we're doing that along the way with not only how we source and evaluate deals, but how we teach this business as well. And this won't be unique to self-storage. Everyone's going to do this. I just think I was in a unique position to launch it first before I think most people. I haven't seen any other education out there in commercial real estate about or where it's using AI. I'm sure it's going to happen, but I think it was just unique. My unique position is why we were able to do it right now and at the speed we're doing it.
Awesome. I'm talking with Joe Downs, everybody. You can learn more about storage and practitioners and not professors, and how to use AI to build and scale and become a self-storage investor or operator by going to storagemoguls.ai, storagemoguls.ai. Again, did I pronounce that correctly, or am I butchering it?
Yeah, you did. Okay. And the tagline is practitioners, not professors, because I'm like the worst guru ever. I'm not professionally trained to be on stage. We just tell people like it is. We're just real with them.
Yeah, good, exactly, and hopefully, it I'm sure it does. It's easily to understand and actually apply when it's not so complicated. Okay, so let's keep going here. What are you seeing just generally in the self-storage facility marketplace, given where we're at with interest rates and the market cycles, and you are closing deals, which is great. And are you seeing that sellers are meeting the market more now? Is it a buyer's market? Just where are we as we're recording this in June of 2026?
Yeah, so it's a great question, but I'm going to bifurcate the market. So interest rates are fine where they are. We can make deals work with interest rates. A couple years ago, they were a little high. Before that, they were almost too low, to the point where you couldn't get deals done because people were just financing deals without understanding what they were even buying. I think we're in a good place with interest rates. I think they're normalized. I think it's healthy where we are. Interesting, astute question about buyers. Sellers, are there expectations? Have they normalized again? I think we all in commercial real estate went through that. They have because of this unique reason. I think this is the bifurcation of the market. So I have a saying where I think I stole it from somebody, but if you want to beat Tiger Woods at something, you can. Just don't play him in golf. And for us, the way that it applies is, look, the storage industry. I'm gonna pick a number, a square foot number. This is not, scientific. It's just around 30,000 square feet. So you have facilities under 30,000 square feet. The institutions, the REITs, they're not interested in them. The economies of scale aren't there. They're not going to buy them. Above that, you're trying to beat Tiger Woods at golf. All right? They've got capital stacks. We don't have access to lines of credit. We don't have whatever. It's a bidding war. We used to play it. I'm not interested in playing that game anymore. There is a ton of opportunity at the 30,000 square feet and under in that size. There's another interesting stat that people should know. Forbes put this out about 6 to 9 months ago. I don't remember exactly, but they said 2.4 million cash flowing businesses will trade hands in the next 10 years. And the reason for that is it's the silver tsunami. They're all older, right? They built these businesses decades ago. They're cash flowing. Their kids don't want them, and they're going to trade hands. And we estimate 20 to 30,000 of those are self-storage facilities. And that's in the under the 30,000 square feet range. So that's where you have your mom and pops. So what does the prognosis for self-storage look like? It'll allow me to speak to the under 30,000 square foot range where we specialize in teaching people how to buy storage facilities. It is a phenomenal time to be buying. You have just natural dispositions happening every year for the next 10 years because of the age of the sellers. We're also right now, in particular, it's a very good time because storage kind of came out of COVID giveth and then COVID taketh away in self-storage. So during COVID, believe it or not, was the greatest time in self-storage ever from an operational standpoint. And right after it was maybe the worst. And it was obviously occupancies fell, interest rates spiked. It was just and then seller expectations were COVID expectations. So it was a very challenging 2023, 2024, and even into 25. Now we got a little bit of a wind at our back. The economy settled down. Stagnation's over with. Sellers are still retiring and wanting to move to Florida, buy the RV, whatever it is. So times are good. Sellers in that range, we like to focus on the kind of the $400,000 to $2 million acquisition price range. There's a lot of deals you can get done there. They're easily financeable, either with SBA 7A at 90% financing, or even seller financing or seller carry, which you'll see in that range. So it's just a really great opportunity right now, and will continue to be for the next 10 years at least. The way I
love it. Okay, I want to see if I can capture all that because that was phenomenal. And way to break that down. So number one, know your buy box, and what you guys practice is under 30,000 square feet. Above that, you're competing against like competing against Tiger Woods and golf. So with the institutions, the massive amount of the tsunami of businesses. Wow, 2.4 million. And I've also heard the stat that 7 million businesses will go for sale in the next 10 years or so, but only 12% of them will sell because folks don't have great plans in place. We'll kind of talk about that here in a second too.
Interesting.
But and then that 400,000 to 3 million mark, and the ages of the sellers are to the part where, yeah, you're right. They've been working so hard for so many years. And they're saying, how? I want to look at enjoying some more of my time, right? In fact, we helped a self-storage facility owner out of Pennsylvania. It was, I think, Jonestown or Johnstown. And he developed it himself and ran it himself. And he and his wife, and did very well. And knew everyone in the community and fully, 97, 98, 99% occupied and all this stuff. And finally he said, I want to sell. And he actually sold at a good time when the market was still pretty hot a couple of years ago. And his biggest thing was capital gains tax, because as much as people want to be able to exit, they're massively challenged with capital gains tax if they've done very well.
Yeah.
I'm going to propose a strategy to you because you're pretty astute on seller financing and everything you guys are doing over there. I think seller financing is good, but it has its downfall because you're not liquid, you're not diversified, and you're tied to the old business. And Mr. Joe Downs may do a great job for me, but Alan Smith may fail me, and I might have to take the property back in a couple years, which can be a blow to my my Florida tan and golfing tournaments that I'm in. So we have a strategy that allows people to defer tax using an installment sale method, but it's through a trust that's not tied to the old asset. In other words, Joe shows up with $2 million to buy the facility, and let's call it a zero basis, zero debt. And let's just say they would have paid 35% of that in tax. They can first sell to the trust sells it to Joe. So we're not financing Joe. Joe gets cash from an SBA or gets from his cash or whatever. But Joe buys it from the trust ultimately, and the trust has no gain at the trust level. The trust issues a promissory note to the seller, and the funds are sitting at Charles Schwab, which can go into stocks if they want to. It can go into money market account. go into real estate debt funds. It can go into self-storage funds. It could go into a new development opportunity. We call this the Netflix to exit planning. And I'm just curious, have you explored that method versus just the traditional installment sale or the 1031 exchange?
Brett, I have not, but my wheels are spinning right now. I don't know if you could see smoke coming out of my ears as you were talking, but that's very interesting. And you and I will be talking about how we can create more sales, because we do run. One of the things we run into is they're not ready to sell because of capital gains, which is our default was, well, let's talk about the installment sale then as a way to mitigate some of that. But yeah, no, it's a great idea.
Yeah, people want to learn more, you go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. It's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. This also works for not only real estate, but business sales, Bitcoin, stock exits. In fact, we just helped a CPA exit his own business. Could you imagine a CPA needs help with capital gains tax exit planning for your business? Yeah, he did, right? So we helped them defer his tax, and it's a really nice strategy. So yeah, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Okay, let's keep going here. So yes, I think the timing seems to be right, because I also think that the real estate market is such that we're even just the all-time highs in the stock market. Everything, the world's going to end. AI taking over the world, what's going to continue to grow things. And so we're in this place of, be greedy when everyone else is fearful, be fearful when everyone else is greedy. And I do think real estate long-term is the best risk-adjusted place to invest, where you still have control. Now, you mentioned something about, so we'll talk about that in a second. So I agree with you. Now time to invest. But is it time to develop a 60,000 or 100,000 square foot facility? I mean, are these institutions developing these? Or if you could find a piece of land and do some kind of combination of like an AI data center with a self-storage facility on the other side, and combine that, is that something that could be a powerful development opportunity?
That sounds like a fun zoning meeting. To answer your question, by the way, I want no parts of AI data centers. As lucrative as they're going to be, I've been watching some of the local fights that are going on about this. They're fascinating, though. So is it a good time to develop? The neat thing about self-storage is it's local. So we're a 3 to 5 mile radius and a 15-minute tops drive time. So one of the kind of the naive, and I don't want to sound condescending by saying this, but one of the naive questions we get all the time is Jacksonville where you are? Is that a good place for self-storage? Well, I'll show you 50 markets in Jacksonville that are and 50 that aren't, because they're oversupplied. It's a supply and demand equation constantly. You can call it the supply index. So are there pockets where it makes 100% sense to develop self-storage? You bet. Are there areas where it's absolutely overdeveloped? You bet, and everything in between. So I can't. You'll read nationally, self-storage is overdeveloped. Well, what is that? Based on what, right? What I love the national headlines. It's because they don't make any sense. In fact, they make it challenging when you are trying to launch a project. Well, I read that the self-storage is overdeveloped. Well, yeah, sure. In New York it is, but down here in Florida or North Carolina, where the population is growing by 10% a year, it's not. So it just depends. That said, we happen to be developing a twist on self-storage, and it's kind of like a hybrid between self-storage and small bay flex, if you're familiar with that. We call it pro storage. We did not come up with this concept. In fact, we bought one first. We came up with the name pro storage because it didn't have a name. And we are closing on another one we found outside of Kansas City. So we bought one in Wilmington, North Carolina. That was the genesis for us to come up with the idea for pro storage, as well as start to develop them, and then we're even buying some others. So we've seen about 40 of them around the country. We're actually coming up with a national brand called Store Pro. Our first one is, I think we're a week out from our certificate of occupancy in Greenville, South Carolina. We already have one tenant signed up, ready to go, and basically what it is it's month-to-month business storage. So you're familiar with multifamily. The 2-bedroom apartment in multifamily is the most common apartment size, right? And then in self-storage, that's a 10 by 10. You got 10 length, 10 width or depth, whatever you want to say, and an 8-foot ceiling, 100 square feet. The largest sizes we usually see in self-storage are 200, 250, 300 square feet, but those are the 4-bedroom apartments, right? They're not as normal. You don't see them as often. Our smallest size in Pro Storage is 400 square feet, and our largest is 1,000 in what we're developing and 1,250 in what we're buying. So you can see it's a larger space, but smaller even still than what you typically see in small bay flex, which starts at usually 2,500, 5,000, 10,000. You see those increments. So we're kind of that middle zone. You say, well, why would you do that? Well, we have a paradigm shift happening everywhere in this country, and we're all guilty of creating it and causing it, and that's how we get our goods. They get delivered to our front door. We no longer shop at retail stores, so the Amazon and Walmart know today that if you order before 2 p.m. every day, if they can't deliver it to you by the next day, they lose 25% of sales. That was last year's number. Somewhere between now and next year, they expect that number to be same day. If we order by noon, we expect it same day. That you're guilty of it, Brett. I'm guilty of it. It's our consumer demand behavior. So they know they're going to lose those sales. So what they need are infill locations even closer to where we all live with the products we don't even know we want to order yet, right? I don't know that I'm out of deodorant yet, but they do, right? They know I should be running out of deodorant or toilet paper or whatever it is, right? In fact, my son one day asked me if he could buy a pull-up bar, real quick story, on the way to school. When I got home that night, I fought him on it. I let him do it because it ruins the door jams. I fought him on it. We got home that night, and he said, Dad, it's perfect. It doesn't chip the paint. I said, what are you talking about? He said, the pull-up bar. I said, you already have it? He said, how'd you get the pull-up bar already? So, he gave me some smart-ass answer, like, because I'm him. But think about that. They had a pull-up bar within, 30 minutes of my house waiting for us to buy it. That's where we are, and that's where we're continuing to grow towards. That dislocation has pushed contractors out of larger facilities. The rents for small warehouse, if they were $12 a foot triple net, now they're 20, right? And the small contractor, HVAC guy, father-son electrician team, they can't afford that space anymore. So we're creating these smaller, literally mini warehouses like they used to call self-storage. We're creating those in Pro Storage. You have 400 to 1,000 square feet, 16-foot ceilings. You can drive your truck with ladders on top into them. By the way, it also doubles. There's another demand that's not being met out there for boats and RVs. There's not enough parking for them. And it doubles as storage for them because you can drive your RV right in or your boat right into it. Shut the door and you're good. So even in Wilmington, 20% of our customers are boats and RVs, right? And the rest are, electricians and plumbers and trades and whatever. So this demand is everywhere, and we're just trying to meet it. We can't build them fast enough. So.
I love it. We're speaking with Joe Downs, everybody, and you can learn more about what he's doing. You can find him on LinkedIn too, by the way, Joe Downs. And but you guys can go to storagemoguls.ai. Growing up, my dad and my older brothers, we would build houses, and I was the young kid just learning, and I'll never forget the time where he got the flex warehouse space, right, with the pull-up door. And what was so cool about it is they kind of decked it out. I mean, they were leasing it, but they built all of the the cabinetry and all of the storage, and then they built a little workout little area and like walls. Nice. And had it go in there, and then they had a little part of the office there on the side, and then they were able to pull in the trucks and the tractors. This one was pretty deep and pretty tall. My older brother Mark one day left out the Bobcat. This is in Fremont, California, and he didn't pull it in and lock the door. Instead, it was a long day. He said, I'll just park it outside and I'll get it tomorrow morning. We're just going back. Well, tomorrow morning came and Bobcat was goodbye, and so someone had come and commandeered it and drove away with the Bobcat, and there went I don't know, at the time, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 machine, probably $20,000 at the time, but that's case in point. Like, to be able to store these things is very important. Yeah. Especially if you're in places in the Bay Area of California that could have some people driving by and see it and take it. So makes sense. I love the mini warehouse. Okay. So maybe we can just talk about a little of the economics on it. So the deals that you're buying, what's the average price? And then are you needing to improve these, or are these already operating, or are you converting these into the minis? Like, kind of give us the strategy there.
So for the Pro Storage facilities, yeah. No, they're the one in Wilmington, North Carolina, was built by a plumber. He built it himself for himself in an industrial park. And then he just kept building buildings because he had the land and he just built it by demand. I mean, a lot of self-storage was built this way too. It just started with, hey, I'm going to build this one building and see what happens, and they built another one. So that's how he built his facility up to 60,000 square feet. I would call it a Class C facility based on its finishes. What we're building is a little nicer, newer. It's got a clubhouse. It's got central bathroom for everybody. This facility does as well, but it doesn't have the gate access. That's automatic, stuff like that. So the one we're buying that we close on next week is in just outside of Kansas City, Missouri, and that's brand new. And the guy's he's a developer, he's a builder, and he's just not an operator. So he's like, look, this has been real. It's great. I built it. There's room for expansion, but I want to take my money and go. And so we're just coming in. We think we know how to operate it better. So we're
okay. This is really good. I think we're going to be more excited now that we're talking about that. So we helped 3 clients who exited a $13 million car wash that they developed from the ground up in San Diego a couple of years ago. And so the problem and the challenge with the 1031 exchange, you have to buy equal or greater value within the 45-180. And so for a developer, it's the worst, because if you sell it for $13 million in the San Diego example, well, you're going to buy land for $13 million? No, right? They buy land for $500,000, maybe $1 million. Then they develop it for $2, $3, $4 million to get it to the place, and then they want to sell it. And so the developer is constantly challenged with this, or they're 1031ing into something, but then they don't have the cash to do their deal, and it's a chicken and the egg, and then they're not great operators, and so they want to be developing. And so that's where this kind of tax strategy really comes into play. And so what we did was we exited, deferred all the tax, went into Schwab, went into some stocks. They're not big stock guys, but they were diversified where the real estate market was high. Real estate debt, mostly real estate debt funds, even bought some Bitcoin at $40,000 a coin, and have done very well. And now that the values finally have shifted, right, as in the last 12 months, I think, really, now they're going back, and you can partner with the trust and go buy back that all tax deferred. So it's perfect for the developer. So I think about that gentleman. If he's like, yeah, I'm just going to develop more, great. Why don't you do it with tax deferred money versus getting stuck? I just had to throw that in there because it's just a key thing. So I love that you're understanding the developer and what he and that's the motivation. He's not the operator. And if you develop a great relationship with him, maybe he'll develop some more. You can buy some more. It's that kind of the mindset.
It's already in talks. He wants to develop another one for us.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, great. What haven't I asked you so far about AI self-storage that you want to make sure you mention it? And maybe someone who wants to work with you, Joe, or invest with you, what does that look like?
I mean, self-storage is, I think what people should know is we specialize, and we really drill down and focus when we kind of left the old program, which was we want to help people get from 0 to 1. That when I would look out at the audience, it was husband and wives, it was brother-in-laws, it was 2 neighbors who were always kicking in ideas around the fire pit over beers, right? That's who's in the audience. And buying a self-storage facility is like climbing Mount Everest to them. I know because I sat in those same seats. So I can vividly remember going, this sounds great, but how the hell do you do it? Who's lending me $1 million? I'm nobody, right? And so we remove all that for them, remove all the fear, we teach them that, and we literally just specialize in 0 to 1. Can we help you buy your second and third and fourth? Of course we can. But at some point, I'm hoping you graduate from needing us to, right? Because if we're doing our jobs, you should, by the third one, know what the heck you're doing. But that's self-storage, that's what we're doing. We're at Storage Moguls, sorry. StorageMoguls.ai. That's where we're taking you from 0 to 1 so that you're on that path. And hopefully someday you'll need Brett to 1031 out or, put all your gains into a DST. But that's the path we want to start them on that path, and you can finish it.
There it is. Hey, it's all a team, man. Build the team, build the dream. I love it. I love it. You ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, do it.
All right. Number 1 book you recommended in the past year?
Be Your Future Self Now.
Excellent. Question number 2.
Dr. Benjamin Hardy.
Okay. Question number 2. What are you most curious about right now?
I know like the tip of the iceberg with AI. I'm so curious to see where how I can harness it and how people will harness it and where it's going to lead us as an economy. I think we're going to see a whole lot of solopreneurs soon.
Love it. Question number 3. What is the number 1 leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Leadership quote or theme. I'm a strategic coach member. I attend their workshops once a quarter, and I swear by it. I mean, it's changed me as a leader. I don't think I was a leader until I got the strategic coach. I think I had ideas of being a leader. So I highly recommend, we'll start with Dan Sullivan's book, Who Not How, and find out what your unique ability is. This is ground zero for strategic coach, is identify your unique ability, stay in that lane, and surround yourself with everyone who supports you, compliments you is maybe the most important thing in terms of skills and what you're capable of doing, what you shouldn't be doing.
Fantastic. Last question, we'll wrap it up. After all your success, helping all the people you've helped, how do you best keep a mindset of stewardship over ownership?
I think that's what we're doing with Storage Moguls, to be honest with you. I enjoy, in fact, there's going to be a day where that all I'm doing is teaching because I enjoy it so much. I love the podcast and you know, like you with I have the Storage Moguls podcast and then Successful Idiots, which is the AI podcast. And I love giving back because I'm learning, as you pointed out earlier. There's no better way to learn than to teach and to appreciate. And so for me, that's the best thing I can do. And my plan, by the way, is to do it with my kids. And this is all part of Strategic Coach. I hope to be, you know, they talk about generational wealth and the transfer of that wealth. And a lot of people get into different businesses and shit. You specialize in it with DSTs, right? And I'm not knocking generational wealth or transferring wealth at all, but transferring knowledge to me is so much more important because you've all heard and seen the second and third, mostly third generation businesses where the kids, they had no knowledge and they had no appreciation, they squandered it, right? If you can transfer the knowledge to your kids or to your siblings, your friends, your family, whatever, that is the real wealth transfer, and that's what I hope to do, and that's what I stand by.
Amazing. Joe Downs, I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing your wisdom with us, diving into AI and self-storage and the marketplaces. You're obviously a pro at what you do. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you or work with you or invest with you, what's the best place for them to find you?
Joe at storagemoguls.ai. Joe at storagemoguls.ai. It's the best way to reach me.
Amazing. Thanks, Joe. I just want to thank all of our listeners or viewers for being a part of the Build to Billions podcast. Also, Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channels, because we're also streaming there as well. And we're on this journey with you to scale from millions to billions. We can give more all the way to help MVPs. And I want to encourage you to take action today. If you have a large exit, consider building a capital gains tax exit plan with our team by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. It could be Bitcoin. It could be an IPO stock exit. It could be a self-storage facility, a business. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. I'm Brett Swarts. He's Joe Downs, and we'll be in touch with you real soon. Thanks so much. Bye.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.